Welcome to a podcast capturing the antics of two geeks who talk about video game culture and influence, both old and new, all through chaotic banter and tangential tangents that make no sense. My name is Mask.
I may insert the pipe effect.
This is my pal Red.
Damn. That's deep.
And together we make the Reddmasq Podcast.
This is episode 29, because I'm not going to do the recording at the beginning again like I usually do. Welcome to something that's kind of unscripted, the old classic throwback Reddmasq Podcast, like our early episodes. Welcome, folks. We're just going to talk our heads off like we always did. No guests, no holds barred.
Fuck you.
Followed by like 5 seconds of silence with a fuck you. Excellent start.
Hell yeah.
Love that. Alright. So, what have we been doing this past couple of weeks? Well, besides making sure the world doesn't end between, various hurricanes, tornadoes, and politics, video games, of course. That's the eternal, what is it? Makes equal between two sides. Justifier? Pacifier? What's the word I'm looking for?
Equalizer.
Equalizer, yes. That's the eternal equalizer.
Remember when the
right there.
Equalizer in Team Fortress 2 was good?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Oh yeah, Team Fortress 2 is having their Scream Fortress event. They do it every year for Halloween, and they've been doing it since, 2011? Since we were teenagers?
Yes, for a long-ass time. God damn it, this buzz ball just got all over me again.
Buzz. Calling you from the
That is-
future.
That is very chocolatey.
Haha.
But yeah, and I remember I had uninstalled Team Fortress 2 because I swear to God, my luck with that game is dog shit. Like, there's like a 50-50 odds you're going to join a casual match and it's going to be a steamroll one way or the other, right?
Right.
I feel like more often than not, mine are just steamrolls against me.
With Team Fortress 2, I mean, we're just talking about the casual side of things. We're not talking about anything serious with it. But yeah, if you're just talking about, joining matches in pubs, the whole new, join a server experience, you're not just going to click on, random servers like you were when you were younger. You're just going to use the matchmaking service that's built in, and you're going to be joining just right away after, up to 5 minutes of waiting, depending on how many maps you choose.
And
I mean, it's easy
that
enough.
matchmaking has been a while. That matchmaking's been around for a long time at this point.
Well, actually has it.
Yeah.
I'm old. Well, not as old as this game, technically, but yeah. It is one of the games on my Steam library that I just ended up putting in, $1,000 into casually, and it's just well, I don't know how it got to here. It had to do something with hats, probably. Something grinding. One of the original grind games that I had when I was younger.
I have no hats, and I must scream.
I sold all of my hats for video games.
Probably the better idea.
It was interesting, yeah. I also had earbuds at one point. We don't want to get into that. We have the Halloween event, so Marasmus, Headless Horseless Horseman, and who's the third guy? Oh yeah, the Monoculus. All those bosses are kind of scattered around the maps. It takes a very serious, PvP team-based game and turns it into a kooky little party game.
Yeah, it depends on the map, and also the map determines whether or not you get truces or not.
Right.
We attempted to play. You were like, just to really make it hilarious. I'm just gonna spoil what happened when you decided to go for Marasmus specifically.
Oh my god.
Because you're like, I haven't fought Marasmus yet. I need to fight Marasmus.
Yeah,
so
we
went
needed to fight Marasmus because that was part of the boss chain, and I was thinking oh, we can skip there as part of the mission system, right? I was very wrong because you had to fight a certain boss first, which we didn't.
Right.
So we went there, and we realized that too
I tried
late.
to kill it. I did not successfully kill it. But here's the thing: we went to Ghost Fort and faced off against Marasmus, and then we faced off against Marasmus, and then we faced off against Marasmus, and then we
again and
Marasmus
again
level 7,
and again.
And the match went on for 40 minutes.
It was
absurd.
fucking every time you're just at a stalemate, doing the mini game, going through Bomb Skull Island, getting fun Ubers for just random nonsense. Also, he spins a wheel and causes a random effect to happen on the map, a la WarioWare or something.
We got Uber twice in a row. It was really funny.
Yep. Just pure invincibility, just walking around. It is so zany, this mode, though. Like, it's like prop hunt built in when you're actually trying to find him, disguised as other objects. It was fatiguing, not gonna lie. 7 times is way too much.
And then even then, after we let him get away, it's like, okay, we're free. No, you're not. Have him another couple times.
Yeah, it's like every time the point, like it's a capture point mission, right? Every time the point is captured, you roll the wheel. One of those effects is that Reddmasq could appear. And he appeared 7 times.
I thought he just appears randomly.
Does he? Yeah, I guess maybe that's how it works. I wasn't sure myself.
Yeah.
Part of that was that you actually get a free little trinket as part of the missions there. Thankfully, we got one of those. We didn't get completely shafted, so I got a little chicken head scout hat. What did you get, Red?
What?
What is the prize you got out of the jack-o'-lantern?
Oh, I got a skeleton. I got a skeleton shirt.
Heck yeah!
And we were trying to make some progress on the bonus objectives, and then we lost the progress because, while we were facing off against Reddmasq for the 50th time, I think the backpack system went down, the item servers.
Oh darn!
So we lost our progress.
Ugh.
Well, we just lost the progress we had made in that map, so it was not much.
I'm not sure if it was the item servers, or I think I might take the blame for it because I switched our mission over to the other one with our star.
Maybe.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I screwed you.
All that matters is we lost a pumpkin bomb kill and 2 crit pumpkins.
Yep. Oh well, we'll have to get him next time. Hey, we also fought Headless Horseman a couple of times on this buzzsaw level, where you have to revive. I think it's the man from Manco.
It's one of the mini maps where your goal is to dump on the grave of one of the Man brothers.
Yes.
And this one, the one we played, you have to take a hacksaw. It's payload, and the payload is a hacksaw that you have to keep pushing into the grave when you get there to deface their grave, to destroy it, and then you go to hell. And then if you're the team who won, you start off ahead of the other team.
Right, and when you're in hell, everyone is not fighting each other. It's another minigame. So you're just running around pressing buttons to just get your team over the finish line before the other team.
And everyone's spooked, so you can't even fight if you wanted to. But you can press buttons that are hooked up to X's that will slam a hammer down on those X's and instantly kill anyone on them. So you're supposed to dodge it.
I thought the button was something else.
Each button is assigned to an X. So that X goes down.
Oh, so it's actually every man for himself.
Kind of, but no, but you're still teams. Whoever gets there first wins.
Okay, so it's hitting the other players.
Yeah, it says to hit the buttons to hit the players who are ahead of you.
Right, but is it hitting your teammates or is it hitting the other team?
It can also hit your teammates if you're bad. Yes. So yes, you were killing people.
Amazing. And you gotta dodge buzzsaws and things like that. And you get to the end and victory.
Yeah, victory royale. Just took out Tomato Town.
Fortnite. Don't call this Fortnite, Red. I will blick you.
Forks and knives.
We also fought Monoclus, which is another classic boss.
Oh yeah.
On Iaduct, not Viaduct, Iaduct. That's another map that does forced truces and stuff. He just shoots crit eyes at you that are just rockets with the effect. So that's just a classic one.
He's firing crockets at you the whole time. But I killed multiple bosses, and now I've got a bunch of achievements that I've missed.
Yes, likewise. The first time I killed Reddmasq, I got some achievements. Every other 6 times, I didn't get nothing. Oh, I actually got the Skull Island on the 4th kill.
The horseless, headless horseman followed me into a pit one time.
I mean, now he's he's not pitless now. But yeah, TF2's Halloween event is fun, comes around once a year. There's nothing really quite like it. It's kind of a holiday tradition for some players. So check it out if you haven't already, because you got until the 31st to do so.
I still don't like playing TF2.
Also, it's 29 gigabytes now instead of 4 gigabytes. What the heck happened?
it took me so long to get into my groove today with that game because I always go into like this despair mode because I can't do shit until I get like an actual play, in which case I can actually feel stuff again. In which case I got the play of successfully sneaking up behind a soldier and meat shotting him to death
Oh,
and milking
and
some people
in the
and
process,
meat
you've
shotting them.
shot a flamethrower in my face, like point blank. But to get you
Yeah.
back, I just whipped you really, really hard with the soldier's
No, you
weapon.
You whipped me first, I think, and then I killed you with the flamethrower.
And then I like took out 2 other people before like dying. That rampage was amazing.
critting me with a whip like a bitch.
God, that was great. There is nothing like the fun that comes from just playing like a good TF2 match with just like your friends. Honestly, it's a great time.
It took me way too long to get into it.
Yeah.
But that's just how TF2 is because when you're bad, the skill gap hits like a truck.
You know, I think it also has to do with the fact that it's an older game, so like the pacing is made for another era.
It's an older game, so the skill gap is even larger because some of those people have been playing for decades.
Dopamine like most fucking modern games, like Fortnite or whatever. It's just
and
like
even with Fortnite,
dispersed in smaller doses.
Even with Fortnite, I still hate it because it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't like most video games these days. Most PvP specifically.
Right. Most people just like stick with 1 or 2 games, I think. They don't like have the hardcore gamer mentality that a lot of people had or currently have nowadays. It's like there are different subsets of gamer. There's like the Nintendo gamers who grew up with like one specific console and stick with that. There's people that just play Fortnite or Roblox or Minecraft, that sort of subset. There's like the fighting game people. There's a whole
I think what really gets me though is that like so many games are trying to do that sort of like they're trying to be your one game, right? They're because so many companies are just stuck in this. It's infinite money, microtransactions, battle passes. We gotta be their one game, and then it doesn't work because
everyone else can make the game for us. In the case of Minecraft or Roblox,
there can only be so many one games, guys.
Oneion. It reminds me of that one picture of like the Funyun bag that's like crumpled up. It gets reposted to Reddit like every month, so people are just annoyed by it at this point. But it has a Funyun bag, which is just like completely saturated with water and then dehydrated again. So all of the Funyuns are just like a single Funyun, which everyone calls the Oneion. That's the gaming industry nowadays.
Yes, I love the One Ring.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Sure was. Hey, you should be. Are you recording the Discord call?
Yes. Unfortunately, I still haven't figured out a way to record the soundboard.
No. Yeah, I think my biggest issue with like all these games trying to be your one game is that they're all PvP.
Uh-huh. All competitive.
They're all PvP, and it's like, no. And the ones that, and like, not to mention, even if they aren't PvP, there's still the fact that to make them the one game, they have a bunch of like obviously addictive shit in them.
Indeed.
Just here, have gotcha for some reason. Fuck
it's
you.
Like subsystems that don't make sense. Here's my question to you.
Hit the lever.
Did the Chow Garden make sense in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2?
I mean, I barely understood it, but I loved it. And then I looked up how it worked online, and I was like, holy shit.
Exactly. It's like a world opens up to you when you get a little bit older, and then you understand it. The microtransaction system they give kids is just like still a money grab, though. So now imagine they make people pay for that. That's the problem.
Yeah. It's just they're trying, like, it is exhausting that so many games are trying to be your one game to the point that like if it doesn't click with you, it just sucks. There's also the fact that like the thing I hate about PvP is the fact that I'm not good. I'm not good at games, so having to deal with the fact that I'm just
good at video games takes time and effort, and who has time for that when you're trying to play Halo for grown-ups? Now I have to like the old Penny Arcade skit.
That's why I prefer PvE. Speaking of PvE, Earth Defense Force 6.
Yes, let's have you talk about that, because we played around a little bit with that. We talked about it in a couple episodes earlier when we were getting back into our groove here, but you beat the game recently, and holy crap, what a winding road that you that the lore in that game takes.
Oh yeah, it's actually nice. I really love it. It plays on the fact that it's a direct sequel to EDF 5 and uses the time travel shenanigans with it very well. And I still really love the gag where every time you go back in time, it increments the EDF. So it's like, you go back in time the first time, the EDF 6 begins now. Second time, the EDF 7, EDF 8, EDF 9. You end on EDF 9. It's hilarious.
Do you create any time paradoxes on your way back and forth?
Yes, actually. That's actually like the plot of the final boss.
Oh, fun.
Because like every time you're going back in time, the scientist who like keeps going back in time with you and does all this shit for you, he does his research into it and is just like, oh, wait a minute. Like, literally, the reason why we beat the final boss is because of a time paradox. Because the way that here's how it works, okay? So the alien invaders are actually from hundreds of thousands of. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert: the alien invaders are from hundreds of thousands of years in the future. They came from Mars. They're Martians, and then they get to like space travel and shit, and they go to Earth and find remnants of the Earth. Of the human civilization, because by that point we've gone long extinct.
Okay.
And there's like monsters and shit there, which is actually where those monsters come from. That's why they look like the bees and the ants and the shit. That's why they look like the earth and the earth bugs.
Right.
Because they literally came from Earth hundreds of years in the future after we went extinct, and like pollution and shit evolved them absurdly far. But they go back to Earth, find remnants. They go to Earth, find remnants of the human civilization, get curious, and go back in time to look at to monitor us and see what we're like.
Right.
Then they get the realization that if we find out that they exist, that's going to cause a time paradox, right?
Potentially.
And eventually, yes. And then one of their ships...
But eventually also applies here. Continue.
Potentially, yes. Potentially. But that is exactly what happens, because once they figure this out, they actually happen to have a ship crash land on Earth. And that gets discovered and sets up the EDF to be created. The EDF gets created because we find their wrecked ship, and also, like, we had made religions based on these aliens because of them time traveling to the past. Like, we saw them and we're like, oh shit. Look at these gods in the sky. Look at these gods in the sky. Look at this god in the ship. Look at this advanced tech. So anyways, that sets the time paradox into motion, yeah?
All right.
And around the time that the EDF actually gets fully set up and off the ground, they invade to take out they invade to eradicate humanity to prevent the time paradox from eradicating them. So EDF 5 happens at this point. And you go, and then EDF 6 happens when you go 3 years past that after you've killed their commander, and you go back in time with their ring, because they have a ring to go back to the past, to a specific point. They use the ring to go back to that specific point when the EDF gets off the ground, because if they go back any further, it runs the risk of making the time paradox worse.
Right.
So they go back to a stable point in time to try and prevent everything from getting worse. But they didn't count on us and the scientist.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So EDF 6's plot is basically just like, you go through this war over and over again. You go back to the time by malfunctioning the ring at the right time. Do this over and over again. So eventually you just get better, they get better, and you start to turn the war in your favor. And then instead of going back to the past the last time, the game has several missions, has 6 missions get affected. 6 previous missions on your list get affected by something, and you have to go and clear those missions, basically. So you go back, the base has been taken over by monsters, which happens, except this time, instead of a regular mother monster, it's a gold ant mother monster, because fuck you.
So it's different than the actual final boss of EDF 5.
Oh yeah, the EDF 5's final boss is just a giant alien you just lay into.
Huh.
But I haven't even talked into the final boss of EDF 6 yet. That's the thing. I'm just going through the story.
Right.
So they've gone back to all these missions, and they've like changed the path through it, and the game has you go through it with the menu and like beat those missions to undo their fuckery, which is like, meta, very meta. Because that's the first time you do that. And then you proceed with the final missions and take out the ring. You destroy it completely, and then you take on the final boss, which is like this like snake-like ship that's really a pain in the ass to fight.
So is it the final boss of EDF 6 or EDF 9?
EDF 9. So the final boss is like the snake-like ship that you have to shoot the things about, and this is where you learn about. So, like, you get, like, all this information about the plot of how it all happened near the end of the game, where, like, the scientist is doing all the research, and it's just, like, he understands everything. In the final boss, you learn that because of the time paradox, time itself has chosen champions from both races to fight and see who survives. So the alien commander is their champion, or their representative from time. Our representative for time is Storm 1. The player characters are the chosen ones, basically, which is why we are so busted OP and can constantly like upgrade our armor, go back in time to grind even more, etc. And so eventually this leads to us nuking Mars to make sure that their race never comes to be in the first place, because otherwise we're just going to be fighting forever. So this causes the time paradox to hit its zenith, or whatever the fuck, the peak. And now everything's out of whack. They're sitting in a bunch of aliens that are just like ghosts of time, and you're just destroying everything and taking on the final boss. And then you win, and you're the champions.
Is it any elements of horror at the last couple of levels? But the way you described it is kind of dark, honestly.
There are,
for EDF.
I mean, for EDF, the previous game, at the very end, by the end of the game, 90% of the human race had been wiped out. Like, it's already like, EDF has always been dark and like realistic with like what would happen if we actually got invaded like this. But it's still like very campy at the same time, right?
Right.
But that's like always been the case. So like at the end of this game, only 30% has died, which is like still cause for mourning. But our future looks bright finally.
Gotcha. So
and, like,
the game ends on a optimistic note, sounds like.
Yeah, bittersweet but optimistic. Like, a lot of people still died. It's nowhere near as bad as it was at first.
Now, my question is, you said you had to play through a tutorial 4 to 12 times. Was it for each of the characters? Or was it because the game was actually replaying other games?
So here's how their medal system works for both EDF 5 and EDF 6 through 9. You have your 5 difficulties. You have easy, normal, hard, harder, or it's like hardest, and then inferno. Easy through hard. If you clear hard, you will get all the medals of the easier difficulties for free. That does not apply to hardest and inferno. They are their own separate medals, and so you need to clear each mission a minimum of 3 times to get all the medals for one class. So for all classes, that's 12 times minimum. This goes for the tutorial mission, where nothing happens except you do all the bullshit, right?
Right.
So you're playing that 3 times per class, 12 times in total, and most of the tutorial is just set dressing, dialogue, explaining what's happening.
I would actually be interested in getting more into some of the other classes in EDF 6, because I've only been playing Ranger with you so far. You've got a lot more of the weapons, so the more the interesting stuff is available now. Is there anything of the new weapons that like stand out to you in terms of like how they perform?
Well, I already talked about how each like most of the classes have like a new slot for stuff. So most of the new weapons have to do with that slot. So like the Ranger gets automatic weapon, it gets like the turrets and like grenades on his slot and so on. And most of those weapons are like kind of straightforward. I tend to really enjoy the sniper automatic weapon, even though it's like really weak late game.
I could see a build with sniper working, yeah.
But like it's just you can throw it down. It doesn't cause any friendly fire. It's long range. It hits very far.
Wing
I do
divers
like that
still
you
have
get-
just like the lance as like their only weapon of choice, or is there like any new option?
I have not played any of the other classes yet because
Okay,
Ranger
yeah.
Ranger is comfort. It's a
Yes.
comfort food. It's just like I don't want to
They're
have to
simple
bother
character
with.
play.
I don't want to deal with
Very
unique
easy.
mechanics. I just want to point and shoot. Thanks. He's point and shoot, man.
Been like that since the first DDF.
Yep. By the
Recall
way, there
that.
is a fighting game that has the Earth Defense Force as a playable character.
Aha. I would probably play a character like that. Actually, I played a character like that in Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. I believe Black Ranger, he just has like a sniper rifle as part of his like arsenal. He's like a heavy hitter. It's a lot of fun. That's sort of a Cable thing going on if you're familiar with Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
This episode is brought to you by us. We work hard in making an exciting show each week, chaos included. Check out the links in the show notes for ways to help support the show. This includes our coffee page, which you can find at ko-fi.com/mask31.
Anyway, though, I want to take this away and take us right out into Nintendo land. Because I want to talk about Zelda games, but before I do, there's an elephant in the room. An alarm clock-sized elephant. Red Nintendo made an alarm clock. Why?
Why is it $100 and doesn't come with a fucking charging brick?
Why is it like a body sensing, motion sensing alarm clock that's using like 22 gigahertz milliwave frequency sensing of your body things? It's like a Microsoft Kinect if it just weren't cool. And not a game console. Like, what is this thing?
It's got all the sleep technology that like Pokemon Sleep has, probably.
Well, Pokemon Sleep has like a hockey puck that you basically put in your bed and like motion senses while you're moving and stuff. This
No,
actually
you
senses
put the
your
whole-
actual movements.
You put the actual thing in your fucking. Yeah, but it's like sleep tech that's been around for a while now, anyways.
Yes and no. This alarm clock is like a more friendly version of it for sure. The UI experience, I'm sure, is going to be like butter because it's a Nintendo product. But like,
And what's funny,
it's the most random thing. I guess it's not random when you consider the company's history and like how the Game & Watch came to be from like a calculator. But like, this is like a new thing for Nintendo. Like a new thing. For them to make
Welcome
something like
back.
this in-house.
welcome back, the Nintendo that made the Love Tester.
Pretty much that, yeah. I would not be surprised if Alarmo made a cameo in the next Pikmin game. That seems totally
there's
up their alley.
There is literally a Pikmin theme where on the hour, the player character picks as many Pikmin as the hour.
Oh, that's cute.
So instead of like a ringing bell, it's just Pikmin being plucked.
Aw,
So silly.
very good. Yeah, I mean, there's like themes for other Nintendo games. It's very game forward, so they're not trying to like avoid their history of it. They're very proud of it. Very proud to talk about it when you're going to bed and waking up, I guess. But it's just like, yeah, it's a clock. It has themes for all sorts of games, including The Legend of Zelda. That plays like custom sounds when you're like moving around. You can't roll out of bed though, and it sounds like Link. I would much appreciate if they got that element right. Unfortunately, they did not.
Did you enjoy the meme where someone edited it to make it the hurry up theme from Wario Land 4?
Oh my gosh, the memes for this are legendary right now. Like someone's doing
so
like
good.
the SpongeBob meme with like the alarm clock, and it's like, oh my god, I love this.
And you know what's great about that meme?
Yeah.
My friend that you're aware that you know and have played with, he literally wakes himself up with that song. So I sent him that, and I was like, "Hey, it's you."
It is you. Oh my god, it's like that. This product is made for him, probably, or her, or them.
Like, I remember his pronouns. It's. Don't worry about it.
Hey,
Don't worry too much about his pronouns. You're not
trying
going to get them
respect it.
correct.
All right, okay.
You're not going to get them correct.
All right.
As I use random pronouns because I don't understand what to say.
Hey. But we are going to talk about Zelda for a little bit. or should I say Zelda. Back in the day, Nintendo, after Ocarina of Time, wanted a nice successor to the series to follow up with. Miyamoto was not fully informed that the game would have a new sort of stylistic look that kind of draws inspiration from like simpler cell shaded graphics. And Link's a kid again. And they had like an age up mechanic that they wanted to do, but they didn't quite nail. It was Wind Waker, everybody. Wind Waker was a divisive game for a long time back in like the 2000s. Back in the era where people were using terms like OMG, WTF, BBQ, kitty graphics on an internet forum. That's how back we are going here. Unfortunately, that Zelda game, that was not the game that they wanted it to be. But it was a very good game, very competently written, had a lot of the same DNA as most of the other Zelda games that came before it. And I still couldn't get out of, was it the Forsaken Fortress, the first area you get dropped in, when I was 6. I had to wait 2 years to actually figure out how to sneak past the guards there.
I hate Wind Waker because of the stealth section at the very start.
It is so strange to have a stealth section at the start of the game. It kept me from playing the game for so long.
It's so, like, the problem is the stealth section in a game that isn't built around stealth. So it's just like, we better hope the mechanics work.
Precisely, yeah. It's, and they did, but I had to learn them as a kid. And in a weekend GameCube rental from the video store, I didn't really have that much time to learn it.
I would also argue it sucks because it sets you back right at the beginning every time you get caught. So it's just like,
yeah,
it's just aggravating.
It was.
And it's like,
I just didn't get it. I was a kid. I didn't know what was going on, so I just kind of played that for a few days, and then I went back to Sonic Adventure probably. Because that's what else I had. So there you go.
It is a rough start to the game. I will say that much.
But yeah, not a good first impression for me as a kid, and not a good first impression for this game for a lot of adults. So who was this game made for? That's the ultimate question there. Well, they released Twilight Princess a few years later, and people probably forgot about that. However, the DS was out then. So what's Nintendo to do about putting their beloved Zelda franchise on a handheld console? Well, what they'll do is gather an internal team with Aonuma and everyone else involved with the core Zelda team, and give Wind Waker another shot. They went with Phantom Hourglass, which I played through start to end recently. I actually had a lot of fun. The game has some flaws, but it's still a lot of fun to kind of go back to in this day and age.
Most of how I played through that game was with action replay.
Really? Actually, what kind of codes did you use?
Invincibility.
Makes sense, yeah.
Just didn't want to deal with anything.
Don't deal with the phantoms, don't even care. Don't even need it. But, like, yeah, the game itself, it aged pretty well. The stylus touchscreen is the most interesting choice and very divisive for a lot of people, though. This series and divisive moves is definitely a thing that goes hand in hand here. But I didn't mind the stylus issue. I had a nice widescreen DSi to play on, unless I'm trying to stream to Red here, which in case I use my 3DS capture card, which that bottom screen is cramped. It's a little annoying.
Yeah, they tried.
It's better on like a wider touchscreen, which they got after the DS Lite and everything else. DSi XL is actually really nice to play this on, I hear. But DSi normal, also pretty fine. And yeah, like the mechanics for like moving around the map are pretty natural. You have warp points that you'll be unlocking throughout your journey there. You're hopping different islands just like in Wind Waker. But you're like drawing a path to get there with your boat and with the stylus, and it's just everything kind of meshes together quite well. There's like a minigame subsection where you control a little Goron kid as well. And that's actually like a really interesting way to kind of mix up the gameplay because you get to just move around a little bit faster, go through a dungeon a little bit faster, and there's a dual boss fight that happens there. That's probably one of the better boss fights in like the Zelda series as a whole. Just like the cooperation element of it is nice. And you don't have to rely on like a character like Zelda to like shoot arrows whenever she feels like. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like the Goron kid's pretty cool.
Right.
What else? What else? I mean, the game itself, when compared to the sequel, which I'm currently playing through at the moment, is a little bit looser ended. Like, the player has a lot of freedom to kind of go through the game as they want to, but they still have to do a lot of backtracking. And in particular, one place you'll be backtracking a lot is the Phantom Temple. And a lot of people really don't like that. Speaking of more divisive things related to this sort of Zelda branch here.
Right.
See, it was been a time when video games like to have backtracking added in or tacked in. Think Devil May Cry 4. You play through the whole game as Nero, one way until the next 9 levels. It's 11
Skyward
levels
Sword.
of the same thing, and then you go back 9 levels as Dante. Backwards. Yeah, Skyward Sword, you're
Sword.
replaying the levels with the tiers, right?
I never played it. I'm just
You
aware
never played
of
it?
people.
How dare you?
I'm just aware
It
of
was
how
okay.
much people say there's backtracking, so
I feel
Well, I'm
like
saying
I
it.
remember playing Skyward Sword, and I remember like the goddess tiers in that game. The got him in Twilight Princess. The way that it worked there was like you had to actually explore the area the first time with that, and then you open up the area when you do that. When you get all the tiers. But in this game, you get all of the goddess tiers after you've explored the area and returned to a dungeon. So, I feel like the open world element of that actually got carried over into Breath of the Wild super well. Because of the freedom aspect of it and just, like, exploring the map that you already kind of knew. It just felt fresh.
yeah.
But, like, that's not how everyone felt about, like, backtracking games. For me, they're fine. For other players, your mileage may vary. But I
You know
found
what's
that
funny?
the Temple of the Ocean Kings, that is the Phantom Temple, was very fine, very okay, and I just had to take notes on my map. Oh, you're writing a lot in this game. This is one of the Zelda games you actually write your notes on the screen to take, instead of writing it down on a piece of paper like the classic 80s Zelda games.
Right.
Which is cool. I like that. That's probably one of my favorite parts of this dual fecta. Because you don't do that in Wind Waker. You just kind of either have a guide or you don't.
Right.
But overall, I really enjoyed my time with Phantom Hourglass. Oh, the story arc with the pirates between your captain Linebeck and his rival like gang that he got kind of in a tussle with is a lot of fun too, with Jolene. Because she's a pirate that he double-crossed, basically. And, spoilers, by the way, for anyone interested in playing this game. So, Linebeck double-crossed Jolene, but, like, as a result of that, she's basically after him. But she settles her grudge with him, essentially over just Link kind of, like, getting in the way. It's kind of half-baked, but it's still a lot of fun to see that sort of thing unravel. It builds character for Linebeck.
He stole her most valuable treasure. What was it? He's too stupid to realize.
Her heart.
Ha 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 ha.
Har. But yeah, your character bonds with Linebeck in the game.
He's an asexual icon. Not into nobody.
No, but like, they build a lot of character into Linebeck just to rip it away from you at the very end of the game because he's the final boss. Bellum, the big bad of the game, not Ganon. Because we can't have that guy coming back. He's sealed away.
Don't worry, he'll come back in other games.
I'm sure he's back in other games. Also, probably shirtless. But anyway.
Hijacked by Ganon.
Yes. Bellum takes over Linebeck and kind of makes him his puppet. That means turning him into a phantom for the final boss fight, which was fun. But in terms of like how well the final boss stood up in comparison to other Zelda games, I'd say this one's like bottom 5. It was not memorable. They introduced a lot of weird mechanics that don't make sense at the very end of it, like the time stop mechanic. It's like cool that you can do it, but it's like this had no build up. I just have this now. Okay. Unlike with the sequel to this game, which actually has a whole lot more build-up, like almost too much. I think they tried to make up for it. But I haven't gotten to that point in Spirit Tracks yet, but we're going to be talking about Spirit Tracks next. Anything else you have to add about Phantom Hourglass, Red?
Fuck stealth sections every time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Phantoms. They're annoying. They only take off time from your hourglass, though. I always tried to avoid getting hit. Kind of like not losing a single Pikmin when I was playing Pikmin as a kid. Like, if you get hit, you're effectively done. That's how I played it as a kid, though. Now, I don't care. I can take as much time as I want.
It is aggravating that you get hit. It's like, game over. Fuck you.
What if
you lose?
Yeah.
You lose time, but it's like, god damn it.
It's fine. You have plenty of time to get to the bottom of the dungeon, and like halfway through it, you can actually have this portal that brings you back down in exchange for half your time that it took to get down there.
Yeah.
But anyway, we go from that game to the single question: what if Link had a car? I mean, a train. Spirit Tracks is a weird concept for a Zelda game at first, and a lot of people probably skip this one because it's a bit of a rare game nowadays. You could have bought it on Wii U eShop or something like that, but most people skipped out on it. It's a little more tedious in a different way when compared to Phantom Hourglass. I would say its most divisive mechanic is the train, because, oh boy, it's slow. It's a slow Zelda game, you just gotta enjoy the journey. And you just have to kind of like redraw routes constantly. When you're moving this thing around, there's like other trains on the track you have to avoid an instant game over.
Fuck that.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun to just end up like getting to your destination only to get hit by another train.
You could probably like make your train pause and wait for it to pass. And
yeah, there's a strategy element with that, but like it's so high stakes compared to like what the last game was doing with the Phantom Temples and stuff. Those do come back, by the way, but they're more puzzle-solvy than they are, like, adventuring and, like, plundering sort of thing. They're a lot more puzzle-forward. Because this game's gimmick is that your spirit guide is not a fairy, like the previous game, or the game before that, or even Ocarina of Time. It's Zelda herself. She gets offed pretty early in the game with some very nice cutscenes, and she is going to basically help out Link throughout his whole journey here. So she becomes a phantom at times to aid his quest. Which is why, if you ever play Smash Ultimate, her down B got changed from turning into Sheik to sending out phantoms. This is the game that came from! But yeah, you're basically going around, not island hopping anymore, but just like journeying from station to station, helping out these tribe of people called the Locomos to basically rebuild the Spirit Tracks, which have been torn apart by a imp demon king something or other. I haven't really had enough time to focus on like why this is important or why the journey is important. Your villains are villains of the week this time, so they're kind of goofy Dragon Ball Z sort of things. Like, one guy is just like an imp with two horns. The other guy is like a cast-out, like, apprentice of one of the Locomo leaders. I think her name is Anjul. I don't want to confuse her with, like, Anju. But, like, it's like the name is similar to that. But, like, yeah, the guy's a cast-out. He's kind of got this, like, dark, sinister sort of undertone to him. Seems like a very serious fighter. And, yeah, he schools Alfonso, who was your train, like, conductor. Oh, Link, as a train driver, has, like, an engineering certificate and all this other official, like, documentation that comes with it. Being an engineer of any sort of trade takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of heart. I have respect for the kid. Everyone kind of takes notice in the kingdom of that, too. It's just like, oh, well, engineers have a kind of a different air about them. It's like, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're all rugged and stuff, I guess.
Rugged living.
Yeah.
Something.
It's like this Link is cool. They do a lot to like distinguish each and every Link in the Zelda timeline, which is kind of nice for like long-time players. I like that.
Yep.
But as I'm going through Spirit Tracks here, I'm finding that, like, oh, I have to put this game down every so often because it's just, like, so tedious. It's like just watching paint dry at times, trying to get to my destination here. Once I get there, everything is perfectly fine. I'll just go through the dungeons, get my item that we're seeking here to repiece the Spirit Tower. Easy enough. Oh, and occasionally catching bunnies. There's a bunny catching minigame in this one, and you just toss a net. Hope the things.
Annoy.
Hope it doesn't get away.
Annoy.
Yeah,
Best Zelda game ever.
Best game ever. Not really. It's also a very mid Zelda game. I would not put it. I would see why people would put this in the top 5 because, like, the presentation is ace. In interviews that they did for Iwata Asks, which I do recommend people go back and read. This one's actually kind of worth it in terms of, like, just the background for, like, Zelda fans who might not want to replay Spirit Tracks, but want to understand what went into it.
You just control everything using the touch screen, which is, like, already going to be divisive.
Yeah, I mean, that's coming in from Phantom Hourglass, yeah, and then the game is more presentation forward than Phantom Hourglass was, which, like, you have the divisiveness of Zelda being a cel-shaded style, on top of the divisiveness of being a touchscreen game, on top of the divisiveness of being just, like, a mostly movie-based sort of experience. I think we've gone into the territory of just, like, not mediocrity, but, like, CDI Zeldas, in terms of just, like, why would I play this sort of territory? Only the very hardcore Zelda fans are going to play this. But I played it as a kid, and I really enjoyed it. I struggle to enjoy it nowadays, but you know what? It's an experience worth having. I'm probably going to just, like, watch the ending cutscenes for this one and trade it out for Minish Cap, because, like, playing that, I'm a lot more engaged with it. So, yeah, fall was supposed to be my Zelda month, and, yeah, we're taking that and having a good experience with it. I would recommend Phantom Hourglass just to kind of see if you're kind of the persuasion to enjoy, like, the Toon Link sort of era of Zelda. If that doesn't rub you the right way, though, I would recommend just kind of staying with where Link is right now. Breath of the Wild and such. I feel like with this game, with Spirit Tracks, with the direction that they went, is closer to what you'd find in a modern game like Tears of the Kingdom. You can build your own stuff, you can go your own way, and if you read the Iwata Asks interview, that's what Aonuma and Miyamoto's team kind of really wanted to kind of hammer down here. So
I'm sorry, what'd you say? You can go your own way?
You can go your own way.
I'm not gonna fucking do that. Sorry.
I was like,
I'm gonna do it. I was about to do it, and I was like, no.
We tried, though. And that's our show for this week, folks. We're gonna start doing these episodes and putting them out on Fridays every 2 weeks now. That's kind of what we're looking at going forward here, because that's not just the news cycle, that's our effort cycle too. So, yeah. Reddmasq Podcast is here to stay, but it's now going to be on a bi-weekly basis. So, if you're interested, please follow, like, share it with your friends, and most of all, stay tuned.
Kind of fucked up that it's bi-weekly. Neither one of us is bisexual.
I am.
Oh shit, I've been owned.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We are hosted on mask31.dev/the-Reddmasq-podcast. You can also find us on Pocket Casts and wherever great podcasts are found.